So this morning, I want to invite you into a powerful question, and it's this. What if the elect are not a chosen few, but those who choose? Think about that for a minute. What if it's not about who gets chosen, but those who choose to step in to that place? The book, The Teachings of the Elect, presents a mystical vision of humanity, one that is capable of conscious evolution. Even 2,000 years ago, they held this vision. In this teaching, the elect are not spiritually elite or exclusive or of a certain class or born into a certain station of life. They are those who awaken, those who align themselves with what they would call divine law, those who choose harmony with God, with nature, and their own inner light. You know, this language, at least for me, resonates deeply with the core unity principles, specifically the awareness and the awakeness to the fact that we are not sinners trying to become more spiritual, more acceptable to this creator we call God, but we are really, in truth, spiritual beings remembering who we are. That's our journey. So as we wrap up this season around the Essene Gospel of Peace and other books that were written by Edmund C.K., today we're focusing on the fourth book, the final book that he wrote, called The Teachings of the Elect. In C.K.'s presentation of Essene wisdom, he says, the elect are those who live in harmony with divine law, who practice purity in thought and action. The elect are those who serve humanity and seek unity with heavenly and earthly realms. Again, the elect are not chosen by favoritism or status. The elect are formed by consciousness. One of the central themes in the teaching of the elect is first and foremost obedience to divine law. And they see it not as punishment, rather as alignment. Not because they have to, but because as they do, they recognize that life flows more easily, more freely, more open to that sense of harmony. The text emphasizes harmony with, as we've talked about in previous weeks, the law of nature, the law of health, the law of thought, and the law of spirit. And these teachings suggest that suffering comes when humanity violates these divine laws, what we might call divine order. Again, not because God punishes, but because disharmony produces consequences. It's that law of cause and effect that happens both in the physical realm, in the emotional realm, and in the spiritual realm. From our perspective, we might say that error thinking produces error results. That's a core sort of unity remembering about how important our thoughts and feelings are in this spiritual journey. And the book speaks of two different paths, one of material attachment and one of spiritual awareness. They suggest that one path leads to fragmentation and the other path leads to wholeness. The elect then are those who choose this path of inner mastery rather than outer domination. Their focus, their energies and efforts are really more focused inward than about how they navigate in the world externally. The elect do not wait for what they thought of as salvation, they embody it and they live it as the path. There's a lot of emphasis on purity, and this was an essential part of the Essene culture. Purity of the body, purity of the thought, purity of intention. For them, and I think in many ways for us, purity becomes undivided consciousness. Not a set of rules, not an ascribed moral set of boundaries, but rather undivided consciousness allows the natural purity that is the wholeness of life to be experienced. It goes on to say that the elect are those who watch their thoughts, discipline their appetites, guard their speech, practice compassion. And again, it's not because they have to do this in order to earn God's love, but because they understand spiritual cause and effect. Here's what I want you to hear. Are you listening? Purity is not about perfectionism or getting to some perfect state. It is about coherence and balance. It is about the times we move back, that we find ourselves drifting outward, of bringing us back into that sense of balance. It is an ebb and a flow that we all will experience in our life because we're part of this human journey right now too. Another theme in this book is spiritual community, which was very integral in the Essene livelihood, in the Essene ways in which they engaged with each other. The elect are not isolated mystics sitting in a cave somewhere seeking enlightenment. They are part of a group, a community that's committed to practicing this higher way of living. And it reminds me that spiritual growth is rarely a solo journey. There will be times when we find ourselves navigating this solely within, but there will also then be that balance, that coherence that comes back out in order to enhance, to expand, to support, and to have something to practice with. Because communities will give you lots of opportunities to practice. Especially unity communities. I think we exist, and it's important to know that we do exist for a reason, and we exist because we strengthen and encourage one another. We're here to gently remind each other and to have compassion and express that in the times that we forget. And to remember that when one person, it just takes one, chooses to feel and to live and to think from this, what we call higher consciousness, it lifts the whole. It makes a difference whether we can see it or not. The book implies that the elect serve as leaven to the world, uplifting collective consciousness by their very presence. It's a powerful calling, not to withdraw from the world, rather to transform it by example. And one of the most compelling ideas in this book is that humanity stands at a crossroads. Now, I want you to remember this, or at least this understanding, and we get this from other Essene historical texts. This was one of their whole core with their community, was not just about transforming themselves, but was about being that light in which others could step into that too. But the crossroads is, and the way this speaks to it is, we may evolve spiritually or decline through materialism and separation. That those are always the choices that we have. And even though this was the thought 2,000 years ago, it also feels very contemporary today. The elect are those who choose consciously, with practice, to evolve spiritually. In New Thought, we would say that we're here to awaken the Christ consciousness, not in some distant future, but here and now. In that light, the elect are those who choose love over fear, choose service over selfishness, choose unity over division, and choose spiritual awareness over spiritual sleep. Election is an inner decision and an outer practice. And because the Essene teachings places emphasis on natural living, diet, sunlight, breath, harmony, not only with each other, but with the earth, the book links spiritual awareness with physical health. It says those two are intertwined. And when we can live in alignment, physically, mentally, spiritually, the natural result is wholeness. The elect honor the body as a temple of the living God. And it's not about a rigid set of rules that have to be followed of what can be eaten and not eaten, which was often the custom in the Jewish heritage, that they had very specific rules about how food is to be treated, what can be eaten when, and they left all that behind. It is more about understanding and having reverence for the body. I will admit to you, this is probably my last big hurdle in this. Well, there's many, but this is one that I'm really having to work with because I didn't grow up thinking that this body was part of my God being. It was just something that's supposed to do what I needed to do. And so this is a part of practice right now. And you may hear other areas, they go, yep, that's one that I could practice a little bit more around. And it does take discipline. You know, modern spirituality oftentimes resists this idea of discipline. It's supposed to be free-flowing. It doesn't, you're not supposed to be, again, it's that where's that line between, a rigidity and something that sometimes you got to push yourself a little bit in order to get beyond where you are in this moment. But it's really about self-mastery. Rather than about discipline, it's really about self-mastery. And self-mastery, the more that we can feel and experience it, is very empowering. It tells us, I have it all right in here. I have every capacity, power, strength that I'll ever need. Faith, it's all present. I just have to tap into it. So election becomes the conscious use of our spiritual faculties. But the book also carries this tone of warning that humanity, it says, cannot violate divine law indefinitely without some major consequence. And then it turns right around with this deep message of hope. And that's kind of the spaces that we live in sometimes. That the elect, that those who choose to awaken can shift the future. That conscious individuals can alter collective destiny. It invites us to remember to never underestimate the spiritual influence of our inner work. So how do we live as the elect in this modern day life? Well, it's not by withdrawing. It's not by being the judge of what's right and wrong. It's not by claiming some level of superiority and your practice versus somebody else's. Rather, it shows up when we practice daily. And I would encourage you to do it morning and night. You got to wake up, fill up, and then remember as the day has gone by and let go with prayer and meditation. It's about being aware of the thoughts that we're thinking throughout our day and how we're feeling. It's one thing to have a lovely prayer in the morning, perhaps do a little meditation, and you feel all warm and glowy and connected, and then you go and you drive to work, or you go to the grocery store, or you turn on the TV, and, at least at times, in an instant, it can seem like that space that we got to in our quietness dissipates in the blink of an eye. So we have to just be aware of it and use the tools we know to bring ourselves back to the center. To choose health and vitality, to serve generously, to live with a sense of integrity, whatever that integrity looks like for us, and to, as often as possible, align with what we understand divine law to be. Here's another. It's the same of what you were listening to before, but in a different way. The elect are not perfect people. They are practicing people. They are people who are working towards finding that level of balance and coherence that is the very energy of love. They are remembering people. They are people who choose awakening over autopilot. Think about how much of your day you're in autopilot. And then see if you can't awake to that. So when we choose love, we are the elect. When we choose wisdom, we are the elect. When we choose peace, we are the elect. So as we move into a time of meditation, I want you to take that energy, that, if you will, even commitment to be that awake consciousness in our life, in our world. Just for a few moments, just allow your body to settle down. You may want to close your eyes if that helps you focus inwardly. Let your feet rest firmly on the floor and your hands relax. See if you can feel your shoulders begin to soften. And take a nice, slow, deep breath. And then gently release it. The breath is always an available practice to bring us back into this present moment. And with each breath, feel yourself arriving, fully present, fully aware. And see if you can't turn that awareness inward, where you can know who you are beyond the roles that you play, beyond the responsibilities, beyond the personality self. There is a quiet center within you, a place of light, a place of wisdom, a place of divine order. This is your higher nature, your Christ awareness, your inner elect. Not chosen because of anything you've ever done or said, but awakened simply by your willingness to be present in this moment. Imagine this light at the center of your being. Perhaps it will be in the area of your heart, or for some it resonates in the top of the head, wherever it feels natural in your body. And with your inner sight, see it glowing gently. This light represents your capacity to choose. To choose love over fear. To choose harmony over conflict. To choose integrity over impulse. To choose awakening over sleep. Take another breath. And imagine that with this breath, you are consciously aligning with divine law, the law of love, the law of life, the law of unity and oneness. Feel yourself coming into harmony, not by forcing, but by simply allowing and aligning. Notice how that feels in your body. There's no striving, no earning or proving, only remembering. Remembering that you are a spiritual being. Remembering that there is divine intelligence available to guide you. Remembering that when you choose love, you are living as one of the awakened. Now imagine this light growing a little brighter, not harsh or blinding, but simply radiant. And as it expands, it blesses your thoughts. It blesses your body. It blesses your relationships. It blesses this community. You are not alone in this awakening. There is a brotherhood and a sisterhood of light. All of those who choose compassion, who choose peace, who choose conscious living. Feel yourself connected to them now. Connected through the one life, through the one light, the one presence expressing as many. Just take a few moments and rest in this awareness of your divine connection. And when you're ready, you can gently bring your awareness back to the room, aware once again of your feet as they rest on the floor, your hands. Carry this inner election with you, not as a title, but as a daily choice. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. So imagine what life would be like, even if we only stay within these walls and within this community, if we embraced this identity, not as exclusive, but as responsible. What if being the elect simply means I elect to live awake, I elect to live aligned, I elect to live in unity with God and creation? The teaching of the elect reminds us that spiritual maturity is not accidental. It's chosen. And in that election, the world will evolve. In that choice, you become the light of the world. Well, it is our opportunity now to share of your financial good with our spiritual community. We continue to be blessed and grateful for all the good that is flowing in and out of this. You'll see there are some things sort of in process, so just be patient with us as we eventually will have a beautiful upgraded fellowship hall and a beautiful front landscape, and I'm just going to celebrate the day. I think by Easter, we're going to have a resurrection around here of our community space, and I'm very grateful for it. In just a moment, the ushers are going to invite you to come up row by row, and you can place your gift in the large basket and then receive an affirmation to bless you this week. And even if you give electronically, we'd love you to come and be in that flow of giving and receiving. And you can just place your hand over the basket and feel your flow of abundance as it moves in and through us, or you can put a little card in there to remind you and to remind this flow of abundance to continue to move in and through our community. So let us join together and hold what we offer today in our hands and in our hearts as we bless it. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, Father, Mother God.
All right, so let's stand up together. We'll join hands, and we're going to do our peace song together.
And so as we go into this week practicing being the light into our world, we go knowing our prayer for protection. We'll do it as call and response. The light of God surrounds us.
I am the light of God.
The love of God enfolds us.
I am the love of God.
The power of God protects us.
I am the power of God.
The presence of God watches over us.
I am the presence of God.
Together, wherever we are, God is, and all is well.